Okay, well, we are live tonight. And as you can see, not in our normal environment. I am on the road at the moment. Um, and this wasn't planned. So it kind of goes along with kind of what we talked about yesterday. We're talking about creating some metabolic momentum here in the new year. And we were talking yesterday about barriers to change, barriers to progress. And one of those being all or nothing thinking. And that includes perfectionism. And I can't be in my office, in front of my camera, in front of my microphone, then maybe it's just not worth doing it. And you get into this negative feedback loop of it's not perfect, it's not even worth doing. And remember, we talked yesterday about countering that with the mantra, done is better than perfect. Uh, Keep moving forward, do something. So all that said, here we are, and we're mobile, and we got a handheld phone. And do I have my notes in front of me on the other screen? Nope. Does that mean I'm winging it? No, no. I did prepare, but the next step. We talked the first day about some barriers, some hangups to weight loss. What are some weight loss resistance? What could be some stumbling blocks and keeping weight loss from happening? Yesterday we talked about readiness to change. Are you truly ready? We talked about the trans theoretical model of uh, preconception, conception, preparation, action, and maintenance, and looking at being honest, building awareness, and then being honest of where your starting point is. And then tonight we're going to talk about some practical things you can do. The four pillars of a lifestyle, PhD lifestyle. And we touched on it yesterday, some basic basic understanding of these four pillars will give you, they all work together into a cohesive, we call it PhD synergy. And you'll get different varying results in these different pillars, just a matter of time. And if you've heard anything I've said, mindset's one of the key linchpins, if you will, of developing a proper human diet lifestyle. And in order to do that, that's going to be a long process. And so, kind of setting a good expectation as far as the results you'll see, I'm going to go in reverse order. Mindset, as important as it is, it'll take the longest for those results to show up. Then you're going to be looking at exercise and activity, then sleep and rest. And we're going to start with a PhD, a proper human diet. All of these things work together, PhD synergy, but the synergy it starts with a proper human diet. So pillar number one, a proper human diet. Now, what is that? It's a spectrum. It's going to go anywhere from low carb to paleo to keto to a meat heavy keto, ketovore, carnivore, all the way to lion. And somewhere in there is where you're going to find your sweet spot of the proper human diet for you for this moment of time in your health journey. Will it change? Most likely. I'd almost guarantee it. Would someone be carnivore their entire life? Maybe. But typically that's an elimination diet. But it's going to be somewhere on that ketogenic spectrum where your body's relying less on carbs and glucose for energy, and it's going to run more on ketones and the fats. So there's a long process of what ketogenesis is and how it works, and I'm not going to get into the weeds of that. But when you are running on ketones as opposed to glucose, you're burning ketones instead of sugar, fat burner instead of a sugar burner. A lot of different ways to talk about it. So how do you develop a proper human diet? The first thing to do is remove all extra sugars out of your diets. And one of the biggest culprits is sodas. Get rid of the sodas, get rid of the sweet tea, get rid of the sweetened lemonades, anything with added sugar. that's going to keep you in a sugar burning mode, and it's going to slow down or stall any fat loss that you're trying to do. So remove that. Remove any grains from your diet. The grains will break down very quickly into glucose. Added starches is another one. So remove the sugar, the grains, the starches. Remove the highly processed industrial seed oils, canola oil, vegetable oil. There's no vegetables in it. Um, rapeseed oil, um, sunflower oil. There's a few in some select cases that you can look at, but pretty much eliminate, especially if you're just getting started, eliminate all those seed oils and go with bacon grease, tallow, lard, and butter or ghee. Those are what you want to cook with. Those are the ones that you want to maybe, you can use olive oil, or even, we love olive oil, but you could also use avocado oil on, if you wanted to have it on a salad, or you wanted to add a little bit of extra liquid fat as a dressing or a garnish. Olive oil and avocado oil are great for that. But as far as cooking and prep, we love bacon grease. We make a lot of bacon and we save it in a little tin cup right on the stove, and we just use that to cook, eggs, sear a steak, a little bit of everything. Yeah, we give it to the dog too. That helps him. He just, it's a treat. He loves it and helps make his food. But yeah, we save it. We reuse it all the time. So get rid of the added sugars. Get rid of the grains and the starches. Get rid of the industrial seed oils and switch over to uh, bacon grease, tallow, lard, butter, and ghee. Um, that's going to be a great start for a proper human diet. And then, what do you replace those with? Well, we talked about the fats. Replace all the sugary stuff with proteins and fats. The three, you'll hear macronutrients: carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And what we want to do is, and I know Dr. Ken Berry, he talks about the carb. I think there's a knob. You want to turn that dial down, and just, you don't want to maybe drop it to zero off the bat. Your gut will not be happy with you, most likely. But you want, wherever you're at, again, awareness, figure out where you're at, and then slowly dial it down a little bit, and more. And the best way to find out your starting point is going to be track your food. Your carb manager, chronometer, um, a notepad or a journal. Just write down your macros of what you eat, everything you eat for at least a week. 2 weeks would be good, just to get a good snapshot of what you typically eat without changing anything right now. Take 2 weeks to track your food so you know where you're starting at. Then we can say, okay, now let's reduce the carbs by removing some of those highly processed foods and those starches, and replace those. See, it's not about adding protein or adding fat. It's about replacing the carbs with the fat and the proteins. So, ground beef is always a winner. Eggs, always a winner. Um, you know, Even some wild caught fish, wild caught salmon, love that. But and you can go with chicken, turkey, even pork. Speaking of pork, bacon. Did I mention bacon? We love bacon. And even certain sausages, as long as the ingredients are clean, there's not a lot of fillers in it, but sausage is good. All beef hot dogs, those are great, especially if you're on a budget. There's plenty of ways to still get the fat and the protein uh, to replace that even on a budget. So that's how we can get started on a proper human diet. So track your food for a couple of weeks to get a starting point, and then see, okay, here's where my carb level is, here's where my fat level is, here's where my protein level is, and try and turn that carb knob down a little bit. And we've got a 4 pillars ebook that you can download from our website. Excuse me. And in the back of that, there is also a list of things to get rid of and then things to replace with it towards the back in the index, the appendix. So take a look at that, and you can see where some healthy swaps can be for cooking and prep, and for just outright eating. Um, that'll help you a lot. So pillar number one, we start with your diet, and we start there because that's the, forgive the pun, the low hanging fruit. That's where you can see quicker results, and you can also see um, you take an action and you'll see a result. It's very cut and dry. There's no ambiguity to it. You remove the carbs, you up your protein, you up your fat, whatever, and you'll begin to, it's cut and dry. It's almost like an equation um, in that regard. And you can start to see some changes, some results within, I don't know, a couple days, maybe probably about a week. Plan on maybe a week to 10 days to where you can see some noticeable differences. Maybe, losing some water weight possibly. There's a lot of things that can happen relatively quickly. And that's why we want to start with that, because remember, mindset is so important. Your mindset will adjust as well. You see some what we'll call early wins that will, whether we want to admit it or not, that will increase your confidence, boost your confidence, and let you know that, hey, you can do this. You are made to do difficult things. And this is just a series of taking one step after the next, simple steps. We're not asking you to, fly a rocket ship. We're asking you to take out the sugar and add some fat and some protein. So early wins will help boost your confidence, and a diet will be one of the simpler ways to do that. So that's step one, is we're going to work on diet. Pillar number two, and this one is, I think, I don't want to say ignored, but definitely diminished and underplayed, I think, is rest and sleep. There's a few different studies out there that show somewhere between 60 to 70% of all metabolic healing happens while you're asleep. There's so many things that go on in your body as far as healing when you get proper sleep and good quality sleep. And those are both important. The amount of sleep is important. And to cut to the chase, you want to look 7 to 9 hours of sleep uninterrupted. And you want to get good quality sleep, which means that, there's different layers of sleep. There's light sleep, there's REM sleep, there's deep sleep, and they go in cycles. You'll be in a light sleep, then you'll drop down to REM, then you'll go into deep sleep for a while, and how many cycles determines how many it determines the quality of your sleep. And I recommend highly look up Dr. Matthew Walker. He wrote a book called Why We Sleep, and he goes into all the nitty gritty, all the nerdy bird stuff of why sleep is important. He's done numerous TED talks. He actually broke it down kind of succinctly in a TED talk, as well as one of his many Andrew Huberman interviews on Huberman Labs. But sleep is important. The healing that happens metabolically, uh, it's staggering. And so make sure you get good quality sleep. I mean, even some people may have not have heard of the glymphatic system. They hear your lymphatic system, but your glymphatic system is the toxins and the waste products that are in your brain. It gives them a chance to drain out too, so you can detox your brain while you sleep. But you got to sleep. The whole adage of I'll sleep when I'm dead. Well, you must, I don't want you to hurry the process, but getting good quality sleep is important. Now, here are some steps to do that. Developing a good sleep routine, what they call sleep hygiene. First step, number one, get a consistent go to bed time. A consistent bedtime every night, even on weekends and holidays, is going to be important. That gets your body into some rhythms. Just like you've got circadian rhythms for, you know, with light exposure and how your body processes throughout the day, those same rhythms also occur in sleep, and you don't want to disrupt those. You want to work with them, not against them. So consistent bedtime is going to be important, as well as consistent wake up time. Even on weekends and holidays, Can it vary a little? Sure, it's a holiday, whatever. But you want to have a pretty consistent bedtime and wake time. Leading up to bedtime is going to be important too. And this also ties in with circadian rhythms. When the sun goes down, your body is going to start to increase the melatonin production. It means, okay, the sun's down, it's time to wind down because we're going to be going to sleep soon. Now, things like caffeine, energy drinks, those will artificially boost that and keep that up. And so your body, you'll be fighting with it, wasting energy also. So you want to cut the caffeine early. Me, I'm a caffeine coffee holic, but I have trained myself the last several months to around noon, 1 o'clock to switch to decaf. I still love the flavor and the idea of drinking a coffee, but it's decaf because how long caffeine actually lasts in your body, the half life of it. Anyway, uh, so cutting out caffeine earlier in the day. Here's another one. As the sun starts to go down, have your last meal. The rule of thumb is only eat when it's light out, because your body will fall into that rhythm too. With the parasympathetic rest and digest, that also goes on a rhythm as well. So you want to do that. So sun starts to go down. Make sure you've cut off your caffeine, and you'll want to plan to or have your last meal uh, kind of around sunset if possible. Um, but here's the key: about at least 3 hours before your set bedtime. 3 hours before that is when you want to have that last bit of food go in your mouth. 5 hours if you can do it, just to give all that food a chance to process through. And that way your body doesn't have to expend any energy digesting food. It can focus on sleep and healing and doesn't divert any of that to processing food. So another thing that can help you with getting quality sleep, a very dark room, like can't see your hand in front of your face dark, because that also any light that hits the rods and cones of your eyes will oh, is it time to wake up? Are we, oh, we're not. So that can affect your sleep too. Keep it dark, keep it cool, because your body will just fall asleep and stay asleep better when the temperature is cool. 65 degrees, 67, but just keep it cool. Find a nice good temperature for you, and keep it cool enough, but don't make your spouse angry. um, so that's some sleep hygiene. Now, another thing to help with the quality of sleep, but it also feeds back into circadian rhythms and your diet, is upon waking. This is important. Don't have any caffeine for about 90 minutes after you wake up. Maybe sip on some hot water, or just no caffeine for about 90 minutes, because your body, because of these rhythms, is waking you up with a cortisol spike. That's going to be enough to help get you going in the morning. You don't need to artificially punch it in the face with some caffeine. After about 90 minutes, that cortisol spike is going to slowly decline. And that's when you can start to have your morning coffee, go out, get some sunlight, and then reset. You get some sunlight, about 10 minutes of good sunlight straight in your eyes, not through a window, and you're resetting a 16-hour clock, give or take, for that circadian rhythm to be in effect. So that's sleep and rest. They go hand in hand. Um, Rest also could also be a rest day or a rest period from activity, which pillar number one is diet. Pillar number two is sleep and rest. Pillar number three, exercise and activity. Now, these are two different things. Exercise is formal exercise, a formal workout. You go to the gym, you press some weights, you do strength training. Maybe you do some hits, some high intensity interval training. Maybe you do some cardio. There's nothing, horrible about cardio. Just it's not good for weight loss. You want to build muscle and build strength, um, and the more skeletal muscle that you have, the more places you have for your body to store uh, glycogen. And that's a whole other topic. But most people are under muscled, so building muscle is going to be a key in getting some metabolic momentum. So that's why there's a lot of focus. You'll hear a lot of focus on strength training, and then also some HIIT training. It gets into that cardio a little bit, but it's, you can do intervals of strength training as well. And one thing you want to consider is with strength training is your heart rate, what zone you're in, what how are you working, and you want to burn fat. You want to stay in a fat burning zone, and the easiest way, the simplest way I've seen it, I learned it from Mark Sisson, uh, author of the Primal Blueprint, is to take 180 minus your age, and that'll give you a number called your fat max number. And what that is that's going to be the upper limit, the upper threshold of your fat burning zone. So you stay at that number, 180 minus your age, you stay at that or below during your strength training, you're going to be burning fat. As soon as you cross over that, then you're going to start, your body's going to be, oh, we're doing more work, we're exerting more force. I need to find some glucose now. And it'll start to pull that out of your muscles. So if you want to stay in a fat burning zone, 180 minus your age, keep your heart rate there or under. But there's another thing, so it's not all just workouts and hitting the gym, 8 days a week. You want to do that 2 or 3 times a week on average to get started. What you also want to focus on is what I would just call activity. Maybe call it fat max activity or NEAT, NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a fancy term for uh, fidgeting. It's a fancy term for the energy that your body's going to use up just from little things like that. Not workouts, not anything fancy. It's like going for a short walk. It's doing some air squats. It's doing little things. Here we are keeping it real, passing stuff through the car. Um, just doing some minimal things just in your everyday life. Again, think mindset of fidgeting, of just doing things around the house. Um, but don't neglect it, because see, you can do 2 or 3 strength training workouts a week and then do nothing else. But what if you were to add up all of your cumulative NEAT activity, all of your fat max activity? Like I said, it adds up, and you do way more fidgeting, you do way more stuff than you realize. You don't necessarily have to track it, but be aware of it. Again, go back to day one, awareness. So pillar one is going to be your diet. Pillar number 2 is sleep and rest. Pillar number 3, activity and exercise. And we have more on that. We've got some, just some sample templates, workouts that you can look at on the website, how to get started with some of that. And then pillar number 4 is, like I said, for me, probably the most important is mindset. We could talk about diet. You can begin to see some results in a week. Let's say you could start to see changes with your sleep. You could see some results and some things beginning to change. I don't know, within a week and a half, 2 weeks, just by changing your sleep schedule, your sleep habits. Exercise, that could take 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks to start to see some results. Mindset, it's going to be a process the entire time, but I mean that's a lifelong thing. To mindset is going to be vital in your whole process. Safety first. Hit stuff here. Um, so yeah, how you see yourself, where you see yourself, I just put an article up a little while ago about expectation and expectation research and how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself. All of that makes a huge difference as to your success, lack of success, but how you see yourself, where you see yourself going, knowing that you can do difficult things. That's going to be a major player in your health journey because we're not talking just physical health, we're talking spirit, mind, and body. So understand that. A couple of books that I would highly recommend would be The Slight Edge. I've talked about that before. I'll talk about it again. Jeff Olson, he breaks down mastering the mundane, how the little things that are easy to do, but also easy not to do, those decisions, good or bad, compound over time to lead you to success or to failure. And so I highly recommend reading or listening to The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Another one that I love that affected me in a good way years ago was a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. We all have an inner monologue. It's by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. We all have this inner monologue that tells us what we believe about ourselves. And he walks you through a process of self-examination over the course of several weeks, and how you can monitor what you say when you talk to yourself, because what you say in that inner monologue also comes out through your mouth, and that's in your relationships with other people, what you do, the actions that you take. So there's a whole lot wrapped into that, way more than I can get into now. But what to say when you talk to yourself is a vital resource for you that I think is absolutely worth the price of admission. You can look at other cognitive behavior techniques. There's a triangle of thoughts, habits, and emotions, and how those all work in synergy with each other too. You think a certain thought that evokes an emotion, and that emotion causes an action. And understanding and again building awareness of that is going to be very key in getting your starting point and knowing how you can set goals in your mindset. And now let's circle back. So pillar number 4 is going to be mindset. But here's one other thing that I want you to do is look at each of these pillars. Set a goal, a smart goal for your diet. SMART goal, it's an acronym, it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I've heard for years that a goal without a date is just a wish. So set a SMART goal. A SMART goal it has to be achievable, has to be relevant, has to be doable for your diet. Where are you and where do you want to be? 30 days, 60 days, 90 habits. A lot of smartwatches and some wearables can help you track your sleep. Even with that too, you can either write it out or just in the margin. I know that the top right margin of my journal has a number in it. Has a 5 today. It means my sleep was a 5. However you want to do it. You want to go digital, you want to go analog. Makes no difference to me. But if you can track your sleep, how do you feel when you wake up? That's a great indicator. Is if you feel rested or do you feel tired? But set a goal, get a baseline for your sleep. Set a goal in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Where do I want that to be? Set it for your activity and your exercise. That doesn't mean I'm going to hit the gym for 5 hours one day. No. Get a plan. Get with a coach, someone who knows what they're doing, and they can help you develop a plan for your activity, your exercise, how to track, how to increase, how to modify. But set a SMART goal for your exercise. Set a SMART goal for pillar number 4, your mindset. How do you track that? Where am I? What to say when you talk to yourself? Step number 1 is going to be the self-analysis, the self-awareness part of that. read up on that, get a baseline for where you are as far as what's my self-image, what's my impression of myself and my ability and my capabilities. Am I selling myself short? That read slight edge. That will open your eyes to so many things that we take for granted. Those things that are easy to do, those things that are easy not to do. It's a SMART goal for where you want to be 30, 60, 90 days down the road. It could be, hey, here's a recommended book list. We've got a recommended list on our site. Say, okay, I want to read that book, and that book 1 month as an example. But set a SMART goal for your mindset. That way, you've got all these pillars working together, synergy, and you'll be amazed 90 days what happens to your body, to your mind, to your spirit, and that inner you. It'll blow your mind what consistency do. And so that's kind of the 4 pillars in a nutshell. And again, real quick, start with diet, pillar number 1, sleep and rest, activity and exercise, and your mindset. Set those. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about applications, how to do that, maybe set some SMART goals, what those might look like as an example. Your mileage may vary. I don't want to give you a cookie cutter. Here's how you do. If you do this, you do, because we are not an equation. But we're going to give you some guide rails, some guidance on how you can set up your own goal setting system. Goal setting creatures, God made us that way. So let's work with our nature instead of against it. And we'll talk tomorrow about setting up some goals to set you up a metabolic momentum here in 2026. So that's what we've got for tonight. If you've got some questions, it's going to be really difficult for you tonight, but maybe drop them in the comments and see if we can answer those either after hours or maybe hit them tomorrow night. So anyway, with that, guys, it's been great.